Welcome into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast, coming at you live on a Monday. You can check us
Live
out
on a
on
Monday.
YouTube there. Yes, sir.
Sunday or Monday fun day.
Monday fun day. Yeah, that's pretty much all that's fun on Mondays these days. But pretty soon we'll have football in a couple months. Talking some football today towards the end of our show. Going to have quite a bit of golf. There's a lot of golf news, recapping the Memorial, and then some live updates. Had a couple guys that now are playing on that. But before we get into that, Gel, I have a golf-related question of the day for you. It's kind of simple, but one is more so a feat that you don't see all that often. So I'm curious on where you sit. If you would rather have a hole-in-one, or would you rather have an albatross getting a 2 on a par 5?
Hole in one.
Hole in one.
Hole in one. It's just too iconic. I don't know. I mean, that's getting the 2 on a par 5. Okay, first off, I know that's probably never gonna happen in my life unless all of a sudden maybe if I start pumping iron, get the Barry Bonds gas going. That good juice, but that's the only way I'm going to be able to get that kind of distance, or if I can master the DOD, the JPEG special,
right?
But yeah. I don't know. Getting an ace, getting a hole in one is just like I can just walk around and say, yeah, I've gotten a hole in one for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
which like I got I got a 2 on a par 5. It's like, it just doesn't have the same allure. So for bragging, just for bragging rights, I'll take the ace, even though getting a deuce on a par 5 is probably more impressive. Probably not. You might not impress as many people as if you said I got a hole in one.
Yeah, that's true. Be a little bit lighter on your bank account, though. If you
that is the downside, but hopefully it's only, hopefully you go out there and it's, 6 a.m. when that happens.
Right.
So
yeah,
that bar tab is pretty,
Buy a round of coffee nice for the old guys that are in there.
Drinks on me. I'll take mine with 1 creamer.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I sit too, because I don't know how you'd even get into the conversation of like, oh yeah, I've got 2 on a par 5 though before. Like that's literally the only way is if somebody's like, hey, have you ever gotten a hole in one? You'd be like, no, but I've got a 2 on a 5 before. Like I don't.
And then it's
nobody's
like,
going around like, oh, do you have an albatross? Like, yeah, exactly. So
might as well
kind of a dick or something.
Might as well told me you got a home run in JV baseball once. Like that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I think I'd rather have the hole in one too, even though hopefully it's not at a big outing or like you said, it's early morning and don't have to worry about the bar being full when you come back in.
The outing that we're going to next week, that would be
you'd have to take out a loan.
You literally would have to probably sell your home. Sell your car. You see me next thing I'm doing, I'm standing in a street corner begging for change. That's no fun.
No, not at all. Not at all. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Type that into the search bar. Will be the first thing that pops up there. We are on YouTube as we've been pumping at you the last couple of weeks. We're live on Mondays, typically on Wednesdays, depending on our schedule, but for sure on Mondays. You can check us out there. You can ask us any questions. We got the chat rolling. So as questions come in, we'll throw them into our convos and answer them. Or if you have any questions on topics we're discussing on the podcast live, hit away or send away the questions. We're more than happy to take a look there. You want to follow Gel at follow Gel on his socials. He's at DasGel. That's at DASJEL. I can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DASJPEC. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of that review. Get you some swag sent out your way. All right, Gel. Got a little memorial recap here. Jack Nicklaus shaking hands with Mr. Billy Horschel. Oh, yeah. Forgot about
come on,
that.
Bring it on.
Yeah, what you sipping on today?
Figure out that outing. Gonna be doing enough beer drinking So switching it up beforehand, rocking a tropical punch truly.
Ooh, that is fantastic.
It's and it's like 98 here. So get a little tropical action, a little coconut flavoring in my life. No matter how artificial it is, it still tastes good in the heat.
Attaboy. I'm sipping on a nice peach high noon, so I'll probably be packing those next week. Throw those in the old
heat
cooler bag on the course.
Oh, don't tell the cart girls.
Right. No, I still buy when they come around.
That's true. That's true. So man, nothing like a nice 8 a.m. bloody and to start off the day when dinner isn't until about 8 o'clock at night, and that's not even close to the end of the night.
No.
Oh man, I think I ran out of firewood.
Oh no.
Oh,
fire's out.
Uh-oh.
To get it roaring for the next episode. Run to the store quick in between.
Yeah, go get some wood.
All right. Yeah, Memorial
Not
Tournament.
Enough here.
Jack shaking hands with Billy Horschel. Billy Horschel had a nice tournament. Really, no question. A little bit towards the back half of the round yesterday, had that nice eagle putt he sank to get his lead back after a couple bad holes there. But
yeah, what was that? Was that 15 on Sunday?
I think it was either 14 or 15s where he had that eagle. So got him pretty back
impressive
into it.
Yeah, he was down. He had lost 2 strokes on Sunday, and to make it up just with in one hole, not too shabby.
That's a good one.
What makes you a winner?
Yes, but
winner hardly know her.
Yes. Other than that, though, had a couple no big names really up towards the top a ton. I'll throw this one out there, Gel. John Rahm had finished at -4, and how'd Javi do for you? Big Dick Vic.
Small Dick Vic for days. Absolutely shit himself. Thursday, I had 1 stroke on you after Thursday, I believe, or maybe we were tied.
No, you were up 1
stroke, but God, I don't know why I'm an idiot. And I feel the need to just believe in Vic when he has not played well most of the season.
No,
and he's been like the last few weeks, he's been pretty much not really in contention. Don't really know why I felt the need to use him here, but and it showed that was just an absolute mistake pretty clearly.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've had a few yourself, so still got a nice 30+ stroke lead, I believe, in the 40. In the Drew Locks. 40
on the dot, but I did gain 9 strokes, so the comeback is on.
As many
Canada this week.
You got to do the old you got to do the 40 beer chug. If you lose by 40, a beer per stroke.
I'll just go die now.
Ambulance on retainer.
Right. Any other golfers you had an eye on this weekend that wanted to discuss or talk about, or
I mean, you mentioned that it really wasn't that extremely close of a victory. He won by 4 strokes. Aaron Wise right there up until, he was down 3. I believe he bogeyed 18 to put him at -9, but he was still the number 2 sole at second place. So that shows you that it really wasn't a close victory. It was kind of a runaway win for Horschel. So not the most dramatic tournament, but we have to be impressed with Joaquin Niemann, what he's done this year. I mean, he finished this tournament 7 under, tied for 3rd place. And we've seen him at or near the top of the leaderboard quite a bit this year. Obviously, this, starting off the season or early on in the season with his win at the Genesis Invitational. And, I think that maybe played a part in him getting into that. I don't know exactly how they made up the Masters groupings, but he was in Tiger's group. Not impressed. I don't know if it's coincidental, but he won the Genesis, which is kind of, that's a big one for Tiger. I don't know if that's what played a part in him being paired up with Tiger and Louis Oosthuizen, but he did. But yeah, like you said, he did well at the Masters too. He's been at or near the top of the leaderboard He's only 23 years old. Right now, I mean, you got to kind of give it up to Niemann.
Yeah, he's at 19 or 18 right now in the FedEx Cup point standings on the season. So
and look at the guys that he's sandwiched in between. Cameron Young, who's had a great year so far for a guy that we weren't really thinking of at the beginning of the season as one of the top names. Cameron Young, 16, Vic at 17.
Big Dick Vic.
Small Dick Vic. and then right behind him, Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa. So those are four guys, or at least three of those four guys are some of the biggest names in golf right now that are all young and what, we consider up and comers. Niemann to be sandwiched in between all those guys. We just had the similar conversation about Sam Burns last week. Is it time to put Joaquin Niemann as, he's only 23. Where do we put him in the conversation amongst, some of these bigger names like Morikawa, Schauffele, Hovland, and now Sam Burns?
He's definitely on a rise and somebody that you have to pay attention to whenever he is in the tournament field. He's somebody that, we have the Open Championship coming up at St. Andrews. He's somebody now that's kind of in that list of guys that I might take. Yeah, I think so, just with how well he's been playing this season. So, no, I definitely think he's one of the young up-and-coming golfers that our future is very bright for him. And we've seen him multiple times this year, like you said. He hasn't really struggled a lot. You saw him, like you had touched on at Augusta, playing in the same group as Tiger Woods, Tiger's first tournament in a year and a half, roughly. And he held up under pressure with the crowds and the nostalgia of Augusta and everything, too. So I don't see where he's going to end up cracking under pressure. He's got to win this year on the tour. So no, I like him a lot for the future, and somebody that I don't necessarily think he's going to end up winning a major this year, but somebody that I could definitely see cracking the top 10 or putting up a solid performance in one of these last two tournaments.
Yeah, he might just still be a little too young, a little not enough experience when it comes to the majors, but the Genesis is a big tournament. For him to get a win there, that's incredibly impressive. Just knowing with all the names that are there that play in that tournament every year, including this year. So for him to win that tournament, that's a huge win for him to get that victory, this first victory this season. He might be a little too young, a little too inexperienced to get a major this season, but you can't count him out at this point. And like you said, top 5, top 10s, he's right there on a pretty much a weekly or every other week kind of a basis. So I'm just impressed by him, given that he hadn't been really much of a real huge name, just given his youth, until he won the Genesis, and he's rode that momentum pretty well this year. So kind of might have to start putting him into that that grouping of young up and comers that haven't quite fully made it, but are ready to break through.
Yep. No, I agree 100% with you. I'm glad you brought his name up, because he definitely deserves the recognition for the season he's been having so far, especially like you said, at age 23.
23. Like, what was I doing at 23? Not making millions of dollars somewhere on the tour. Most likely. Shit.
Somebody who's not 23 anymore, Mr. Kevin Na.
And everybody hates you when you're 23.
Yeah,
that's what Blink says.
Yeah, that is a valid point and a proven fact. Kevin Na officially resigned from the PGA Tour. Didn't really know you could do that, but he did.
That's a first timer.
Said that he appreciates everything that the tour has done for him, and he hopes that one day maybe he'll be able to come back. But at this time, he felt it was best to resign from the tour, as he's going to be participating in the Super Golf League, aka the LIV, and is in the tournament field this week. First tournament is this week in Paris. Or is it England? Paris. Yep. So, yeah.
Oh, no, it's in England. Sorry. England. I just wanted to say that, but it's in England. They're having it's 8 total tournaments. 1 is in Saudi. I believe 4 are in the States. And then I think the other 3 then are in Europe, obviously, with this first one being in England. I don't know the location of the other 2. Within the States, I know there's one
in Oregon.
Portland or somewhere in Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the location of all 8 events, but we'll see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, no, it'll be extremely interesting. Just had news break today on Monday. Phil is now in the field, came out and had a nice long post on his social media and just announced that he was going to be playing in the LIV this week. And also he still plans on playing in the majors. So that is one of the key takeaways that I had from that I thought was interesting, because we haven't had this clash yet. Guys are going to be playing this week, and the US Open is next week. So something is going to happen next week. And I am very curious to see if guys end up being able to play, where that sits, because we got the US Open coming up. And like I said, the LIV tournament is this week. So is Phil going to be able to play next week? Is DJ going to be able to play next week? What
is the US Open a PGA tournament, a PGA event? Because like the Masters isn't. I don't think
so. It's technically a USGA event. So yeah, I guess we'll see then.
Because if Phil's intending on playing in the majors, they must not be PGA events.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the USGA, what kind of power they have. If would they kick Phil out? I don't think so. I just found out why it's called LIV Golf. LIV is a reference to the Roman numeral of 54, which would be your score if you birdied
every hole
in a par 72. I don't know why I never put those 2 things together, but that is the reference. But yeah, last place in this upcoming tournament, there is no cut. No golfers get cut. It's a 42 golfer field, and all 42 golfers they can finish unless they withdraw. Last place gets $142,000. Even if you shoot a 30 over, you still get $142K. So you're guaranteed a payday. Do you think that Jay Monahan is going to maybe have to rethink what he's doing with the PGA, or if, if sponsors are going to have to start putting in a little bit more cash to be able to fund this? Because this is guaranteed money. I mean, I'm still shocked that a Taylor Gooch for him to leave the tour, because he is young and an up and comer and has a lot of potential to make a lot of money, I think, still on the PGA. But some of these older guys, I mean, Sergio, big name, he probably got a payday up front, plus now, and he's not really competing that much nowadays in PGA events.
Yeah.
So for a guy like him, I totally understand moving on, but because it's guaranteed cash, do you think that Jay Monahan, the PGA commissioner, is going to have to maybe rethink this? Or do you think he's better off, or you think he will stick with his current model of half the players make the cut, half the players miss the cut, and if you miss the cut, you get zip?
I honestly think it is going to depend on what ends up happening, and if people are going to be able to play on both tours. That is where the deciding factor is going to be. If it's going to be one of those that players can't play on both tours, then I don't think so, because you still have guys that want to play on the PGA Tour to play in some of those tournaments and everything. But if we find out that pros are able to jump back and forth between the tour, yeah, the PGA Tour is probably going to have to do something different, because if there's tournaments that fall on the same weekend, a PGA versus the other one, if I'm a guy that can play on either tour, why wouldn't I go play on the LIV and I'm guaranteed money that week? Unless it's a big tournament.
If it's a major, you're not.
Well, not a major. And I don't think LIV would be dumb enough to have a tournament
compete with the Masters either, or something.
Yeah, compete with the Masters or any of those. But I'm saying,
especially considering that most of, or at least a lot of their top names they go to the Masters every year and would be eligible to play every year. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they can go back and forth, what's not to stop a pro that, let's say the tour comes to Portland, maybe it's somebody that doesn't want to go overseas to play or anything like that. Let's say the Portland tournament falls the same weekend as RBC Canada right now, and the purse is a lot bigger for LIV. You get guaranteed money. Why wouldn't you go play on the LIV Tour, play in Portland, as opposed to going to the RBC where the purse probably isn't as big and you're guaranteed to have money there? So what's going to end up happening is it's going to look like a lot of the weekends on the PGA Tour when they have the two tournaments because of like the World Golf Championship, when it's at the FedEx St. Jude and it's only the top 80 players in the world. And then you have that alternate tournament that's in like Punta Cana or like one of those where
right.
you don't have a very strong field. It's still pros, but not the top guys, where maybe that ends up happening with the LIV, that if you can go back and forth between those tournaments, guys are going to end up playing the LIV when some of the other smaller tournaments are going on and those fields are going to get a lot weaker. So that's
do you think John Rahm would rather go and win the Mexico Open or play on the LIV where he may have a chance to still win and he'd be competing with, you know, I mean, look, we've talked about this before. The rest of that field in the Mexico Open was an absolute just dumpster fire. So shit, Patrick Reed finished top 5. Like and he had a horrible year. So that tells you everything about that field outside of Rahm. So I don't know. Maybe they might need to rethink. Mount Monahan or the entire, you know, PGA board might need to rethink this. I want to jump back to, you know, what we were originally talking about Phil, and I jumped off the tracks a little bit, took a little detour, but let's bring it back to the main highway here. And Phil, $200 million to play at the LIV. Is that about where you thought maybe he would be? There were the rumors that Dustin Johnson was getting about 150. I was kind of surprised that they're also ponying up that kind of money for Phil.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but with the startup tournament or
8 events, $200 million.
But with a startup like this, you need that star power to attract people. They're going to be making money off of viewership. And I'm more curious with that because when it's overseas, what time is that looking like it's going to be on in the United States? I would think the United States would be a lot of their primary target. Yeah, Europe, you're sprinkled with golf and things like that. But the United States is pretty big for watching golf. And I guess if it's on during the workday, you're probably going to have people tuning in and working from home or whatnot. But no, I don't. 200 million though, that is a ton of money.
Change.
They needed that star power. And it makes me wonder too, Phil's name wasn't on there originally when they released it. Are they still in negotiation, you think? And Phil was holding out, and so they finally got something done prior to this? That's kind of what I thought once it came out today, because the timing of it's weird that he announces he's going to be playing that week of the tournament and wasn't in that initial field. He said that he feels more at home or at peace with everything now. He's had spent time with his family and whatnot, but I'm almost thinking they were in negotiation for him to come over there, and they were still going back and forth on what that actual dollar amount is going to be.
The only way that I could buy that comment that he made about spending time, he spent more time with his family is if his brother or sister or uncle or aunt is a financial advisor. Because that makes, I hadn't even put those, 2 and 2 together there, and thought this may have been a negotiation ploy, a negotiation tactic. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably it. Phil probably saw what DJ got, the 150 that's rumored, and is like, hold up, I'm the only reason that I'm the main name out here. I'm the main reason that this entire league is coming together. At least I've been publicly backing this this golf league for months, however many months now. My reputation is destroyed. You better pay me. You better get me above that Dustin Johnson payday and buy, according to rumors, 50 mil. So that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even put two and two together there, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The other comment I wanted to go into and get your opinion on too, I know where you sit with this, but his comments that he wants to help promote and expand the game of golf and all of this and make it better for the future. And I mean, money talks. I mean, let's
Big
just
time.
it is all money related. If they were saying, oh, you know what, we've got this nice startup tour right now, we'll pay for your room and board and your airfare coming over to play. Phil's gonna go tell him to pound sand. This is
AKA the USFL or the XFL.
Yeah.
Like, we'll pay you to stay here in Birmingham, Alabama in a hotel for however many, that's about, and we'll pay for your room and board and give you a meal card.
Yeah.
That's
you got a meal voucher at the local McDonald's, $10 like
per day.
And none of these guys are going to be like, well, yeah, they offered me. I mean, DJ might be the only one that would come out and be like, yeah, they paid me a lot of money to go over there. That's why I went. But otherwise,
that's what they
should
say.
That.
That's what all these golfers should be saying.
It's
what bullshit. We're trying to change the league or change the sport of golf. No, just come out and say, yeah, they paid me $150 million for 8 events. How can I say no to that? And then if the reporter comes back and says, well, don't you have morals against how the Saudis, and their human rights, how they treat women, how they treat people that believe in a different religion, different people of color, what they've done to Americans, all Dustin Johnson has to say is, okay, buddy, would you do it for $150 million? And if that reporter says no, like, okay, well, then your line of, your morals are apparently cannot be paid off, because $150 million, like, come on.
Yeah. On top of then if
that's more than
the fields
that's
are
more
a lot
than
smaller.
He may end up making. Now he has lost sponsorships.
Yeah.
He already lost the RBC Canada sponsorship, which is kind of ironic that's our tournament next weekend. That's the PGA tournament next weekend. But so he's going to lose some sponsorship money, already has. But is he Canadian? Obviously, no. Paulina, his wife, is. Yeah. But so maybe DJ's that's how, I guess that's how
DJ's
he's got
from Columbia, South Carolina.
Gotcha. Ya boy. But no, it's, everybody has, some people can't be bought, and good for you for standing up to, having that high of a standard moral code, however, but $150 million is $150 million. And then for him to still be eligible to play in the majors, where a lot of times those are the biggest purses out there too. So not every major has the biggest purse, but a lot of good purses are out there too. So if he can play in the majors and get himself $150 million for 8 events, and then then reassess next year before this starts back up and say, look, I got paid. I went, got my money, and now I'm ready to come back. And if Monahan says no, okay, well then I'll just go get another $100-some million next year. But a lot of people's morals can be bought, I guess. We see this with Apple, we all use phones. We all have phones. We all have shoes. Every Apple product is made in China. Basically every single one, or at least, there's materials that have to be dug out of the ground. These extremely, rare materials that have to be brought out of the ground to make these products that are probably done unethically with, again, low wage workers, also ruining, fracking involved. Whatever your thoughts are on fracking, that doesn't matter, but that's, that hurts the earth's, whatever you're ruining mountains and shit when you're fracking. So like, we all drive cars. most of that oil comes from, or a lot of that oil comes from Saudi Arabia. That's how the Saudis have all this money. It's from us buying gas. So it's kind of hypocritical for us, for us to be using all these foreign products that are a lot of times not done in the most ethical ways, not, the oil dug in the not ethical ways, the labor practices in China, etc. So for us to then criticize somebody for going out and getting $150 million, $200 million for Phil, it's a little hypocritical because we're all using these same products. Every single person in America, just about, using these same products that are driving these same cars that are created in unethical ways. So I don't know. Everybody has their own moral code, but we all fall into that trap of not everybody's perfect ethically.
Yeah. One thing too I wanted to touch on is I have to believe with DJ, Phil, Taylor Gooch even, they have to be talking to their attorneys too and being like, hey, does Monahan even have a leg to stand on if for some reason this folds and I can't come back to the PGA? Like, that they've at least had some conversations on that too. And if that's the case and their attorney's like, yeah, no, he doesn't have anything to stand on, we'll fight this and I don't see any issues like that, then why aren't you going over and making some cash right now while this is going on? Who knows? It folds next year. You come back to the PGA Tour and that's that and move on from there. But I have to think, though, that they've at least reached out to their personal attorneys, too, to see what's going on with that, or at least talk to somebody to seek legal advice on it. But
if there's 42 golfers in this league, maybe it's 43 now with the addition of Phil, I suppose. Throw 43 lawsuits in Jay Monahan and at the PGA and see what they do. 43 individual lawsuits, see what they do. Because unless, however they want to handle that, but at some point there's going to be a settlement in an agreement, because nobody wants to go through that for as long as those trials could linger. So I could see this flipping pretty quick. I guess, Monahan, if you're Monahan too, I would play the tough guy and say, no, I at least at the beginning, I would play the tough guy and say, no, you're not invited back, because he doesn't want to lose anybody, obviously.
Oh yeah, no, he has to do this right now and then see where it goes, because otherwise, like we had said,
and also,
if you're guaranteed to make money, you're going to end up losing guys that are going to go and play knowing that they're going to be able to make money regardless, and there's no cut, and your field's going to get a lot weaker on the PGA Tour. So he has to do something right now to try and deter it. And
if he hadn't at the very beginning said, made that threat of, look, okay, you go ahead, but you're not coming back on the PGA Tour. If he hadn't made that threat, who knows how many more golfers would have been involved in this. I mean, you could be talking about any number of guys that would leave the PGA for this, if knowing that, okay, I can, or, play on both tours, if he hadn't made that threat at the beginning. So he had to do it. I think it was definitely the right move, right thing to do. I just don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe, if he's going to be able to stand that ground for, I don't know how much longer, but who knows if things may change even by next season.
Yeah. Somebody that is not going over to the LIV anytime soon, Mr. Tiger Woods. It was rumored, TW Legion account on Twitter. They're the ones that also pretty much follow Tiger's every move. They were on top of it when he was coming back to Augusta, and they had tweeted out today that there's rumor that Tiger turned down upwards of a high 9-figure deal. So, I mean, that is a lot of cash. Not that Tiger needs that at all, but just kind of show you where he stood on it as well. And you wonder if that's more so like he couldn't commit to playing in all of these tournaments and they wanted him to play in that, or if it's just his morals and wanted to stay on the PGA Tour, chase those majors, didn't want to have to jeopardize anything, but thought that was interesting that that's a lot of money to turn down.
Well, if you're talking about 8 events and we're also talking about high 9 figures, you could be talking about $100 million a tournament, an event. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. But he at that point may be jeopardizing that Nike contract, and that Nike contract is a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
So that Nike money could probably add up to, he may end up being a billionaire. We just saw this past week, LeBron became the first active NBA player, or maybe the first, I don't know if it's the first ever active athlete to become a billionaire. Probably just NBA. I don't know. I don't know where Tom Brady sits with all of his stuff, but regardless, LeBron became the first active NBA player, at the very least, to be a billionaire. I can't imagine Tiger's too far behind him between the Nike money, all the sponsorships, everything. He's got his net worth has to be up there. So for him to risk losing that Nike contract for a quick payday, granted, that is a hell of a nice payday, but I think also his legacy, if you're Tiger, your legacy is worth more than just money at this point. I mean, he's recognized as probably, I mean, depends on who you ask, but probably the greatest golfer of all time. You could throw Jack in there just because of his longevity, and he was able to tack up those majors for so long. But there's been nobody more dominant in golf ever than Tiger for as long as he did it. So I think the legacy and the reputation that's probably what steered Tiger away from taking that nearly $1 billion contract or deal with LIV.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought Jack up, because I wanted to actually make this point too before we move on to our last topic here. But I think it's hilarious that LIV reached out to Jack, and Jack's like, "Nah, I helped start the PGA Tour. I can't do it." So LIV's like, "All right, well, we got the guy that we really wanted said no. So let's all right, Greg Norman, you're up." And then they probably reached out to Tiger first, and then Tiger's just like, nah. And they're like, "All right, Phil, you're up."
So did they reach out to Jack to be, be kind of
Jack was
the
supposed to be the Greg Norman role? Yes.
Gotcha.
That's what Jack at least had said, I believe, in his press conference last week, that they came and offered him a significant amount of money to help be the face and be the one that's running the Greg Norman role of LIV. And he's like, "No, I helped start the PGA Tour. I'm not getting involved in that." So.
I'm very happy about that Jack made the right call. Greg Norman kind of, I mean, obviously, golf legend and everything, but not even in the same conversation as Jack.
Nope.
So that was that's the right call by Jack.
Yeah.
And again, it's not what I mean, not to be dark here, but what is he going to do with that money for how many more years that he's, again, not to be dark here, but he's old. I'm just saying, he's already got enough money for generations. I'm sorry. I know I said not to be dark, and it got dark. So I missed the target there, but just saying.
Yeah.
Legacy.
Somebody else's legacy that's a little tarnished right now is Deshaun Watson.
Just a little bit.
24th lawsuit filed today in court, and yeah, it'll be very interesting. Again, no legal action as far as him doing any jail time or anything like that, but it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with the NFL, if how many games he'll be suspended for, where that stands. But kick it over to you, Jel, because his attorney had some interesting comments last week.
I'll try to summarize this. I won't give you the full quote because we could be here till tomorrow. But his attorney, Rusty Hardin, yes, that's his name in a case like this, Rusty Hardin. Come on, oh, how could you have picked a worse name for an attorney? He is apparently, a very well-known, nearly legendary attorney in Texas, but Rusty Hardin for a sexual assault case, 24 sexual assault cases. come on. But he was on a Houston radio show, and he said, this is all these things that I'm going to say are quotes. I'm not making any of this up. Deshaun Watson did nothing wrong, and 2 grand juries have made it clear that Deshaun did nothing illegal. Skipping down a couple lines, a few other things. Deshaun, on a Houston radio show interview today, I mentioned that a massage that has a, quote, happy ending, yes, happy ending, is not illegal, meaning that it's not illegal for somebody to have consensual sex with a therapist after a massage unless the sex is paid for. Deshaun did not pay anyone for sex. So his argument is that Deshaun did nothing technically illegal. So his argument is that this wasn't prostitution. That's basically his. That's exactly his argument here. How hard can you miss the point on this? The whole point is that these are obviously incredibly inappropriate actions, and by him saying that, he technically didn't hire prostitutes, like, that is not a defense to get to for what's going down here. We're already past the point of, is this a criminal charge? As he said, there were 2 grand juries in the 2 criminal cases that said no, there is no criminal charge here for prostitution. These remaining 24 now civil cases are not. It's not about the. It's about the law, but it's more about was sexual harassment committed? Was sexual assault committed? And it's pretty damn clear, based on everything that's been told, that yes, it absolutely has been. Considering that there are multiple women that have said that he ejaculated during these massages, that he initiated contact with his penis on multiple women during these massages, that he initiated that contact without them wanting it, without them knowing that it was going to happen, with him turning over and taking off his towel and completely exposing himself. So if his lawyer right now is seriously still going out publicly and arguing that he never hired any prostitutes, what is he doing out here? This is no longer a prostitution case. It's a case of, was there sexual assault committed? And based on all these, or a number of these women's stories that have been made public, that they have shared on, whether that's HBO Real, the HBO Real Talk or Real Time, whatever that special was with Greg Gumbel, that, or whether it's just different posts that have been on social media, things that have been said in court. If he's still stuck on, is this prostitution? His lawyer is literally digging Deshaun's grave right now, because we're already past this. We're on to, is this sexual harassment or sexual assault? And yeah, technically, illegally, he didn't pay to get tugged off here, but he did pay for a massage. I guess that's the other thing too. He paid for a professional service. So, and then for him to then turn around and expose himself like that, or initiate contact like he did, how is that not? I mean, he's paying for a professional service. Maybe technically it wasn't up front that him getting, his, in Rusty Hardin's word, a happy ending. Maybe that part wasn't explicitly said, or that maybe wasn't an explicit expectation. But isn't it? So I guess technically maybe it's not prostitution, but Jesus Christ, man, the 20 is either the 23rd or 24th woman that came out said that she knew, or she was, or the the owner of that massage parlor was paying women to come in and give him massages. It was basically like, I mean, it was basically like a similar to a ring, the ring that Robert Kraft, Patriots owner, was involved in Juniper, Florida. It's kind of, that 23rd or 24th woman that came out and said that's basically the same thing. That's basically that's almost traffic. You're basically trafficking women in for Deshaun Watson to have his, again, in Rusty Hardin's words, a happy ending. So this is basically admitting that Deshaun did do some of these, was involved in a lot of these things. This is no longer a case of, are all these women making all this stuff up? It's pretty clear that that's not the case. So this is either, I mean, at the very least, it's not denying that wrong things were done. At most, or take it a step further, it's admission of guilt that, yes, these things did happen, or even further, yeah, criminal activity did actually go down here. And it seems pretty clear to me, based on some of these stories, and that Deshaun, now it's come out that he did try to give $100,000 to each of these women to try to pay them off. He did try to settle. And they didn't take it because they didn't, the non-disclosure agreement that was attached to it was they would have to be basically, zip your lips, throw out the key, can't bring it up at all in any form. So I don't know. Rusty Hardin, I think, just completely screwed Deshaun, not only in these civil cases, but also any sort of future that he thinks he's going to have with the NFL.
Yeah, that was
I'm
my
sweating now. Holy shit.
Takeaway.
That's a hot topic.
Yes, it is a hot topic that I'm going to tiptoe around here right now. We don't know what exactly is going to be coming from this, but it just, like you said, the wording of the stuff that he had said when he was asked about it is just, I agree with what you're saying on it. And I don't know. I mean, if I'm a lawyer talking about all of that stuff, I'm leaving it for the courts. I'm not giving people anything outside of that. And it was.
What is he doing going on radio shows to begin with to talk about this?
He probably just wants publicity. I mean, face it. That's pretty much what he's doing when he's going out on radio shows like that. And I mean, just as the lawsuits just keep coming out and more people come to light from this, I mean, what are the Browns thinking, fully guaranteeing his contract? Like, what are you doing, Cleveland?
It's the Browns being the Browns. That's all it is. They were that desperate to try to move off of Baker. I mean, obviously, I guess they were that sick of Baker, but for them to think, and this is, the owner of the Browns is also a huge donor, a huge booster for the Tennessee Volunteers. The Vols have been a joke for outside of women's basketball since T. Martin was there. I guess since Peyton Manning was there. Like, he's involved in both of these things. I don't think it's a coincidence that it would be him that would pull the trigger to guarantee $230 million and to try to also then manipulate that number with a $1 million salary this season, knowing like I don't know. I guess going back to that morality line, maybe he doesn't have any fucking morals because he's willing to basically try to pay for a Super Bowl for somebody that's done. By giving him this $1 million salary, it's him or management or probably Deshaun and his agent saying there's probably a suspension coming. So they kind of know what they're getting in bed with. No pun intended, but like they knew what they were doing when they signed this contract, when they offered out this contract. It's just the Browns being the Browns. And no team was clearly able to match that or willing to match that, because how could you guarantee $230 million for a guy like this?
Yeah. No, I don't understand. Like I think he said, it's just them being completely desperate and doing what they can to try and get that franchise quarterback in that they've been wanting pretty much. I mean, they haven't had one since they brought the team back. So yeah.
Bring
No,
back
it's
Otto Graham.
oh gosh.
What was that Bernie Kosar, I guess, probably was their last half decent quarterback. Derek Anderson brought into the playoffs one year.
I mean, any team that drafts Brandon Whedon deserves to never be good.
And he was like 29 when they drafted him too.
I mean, what are you thinking?
In the first round.
Yeah.
What are they
Good
doing?
pick.
That's the
good pick.
Again, that's the Browns. That's the Browns. I'm sure if they had an opportunity to pick Paxton Lynch, they would have. Because they drafted Manziel. That was the year that Manziel went.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yikes.
Brutal.
Yikes
is right.
All right. So that will wrap up this episode. I'll be back with you tomorrow, but you can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Want to follow Gel? He can be found at Das Gel. I can be found at Das JPEG. Every Monday, typically Wednesdays, we'll do our YouTube live. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube. You can watch our videos there. The replays go up the next day after we record. Otherwise, you can tune in live. We've got the chat going. You can ask us any questions. We'll give you an answer. If you want a little bit more information or our thoughts on the topic we're discussing, just send us in a comment there. We monitor that throughout our entire show. So more than happy, you can interact with us there. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of that review. Get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail. Joe, where can they find us at?
Hit us up on our presenting sponsor, Anchor, both available on your list, both available on your Apple App Store or Android Google Play Store. If you're looking for the app, just search Anchor. If you're looking to go online and do a little extra exploration, you can do that as well just by searching anchor.fm. They allow us to present this beauty to you for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Again, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Dead Arm Sports in that search bar, and it should be popping up as that first thing right at the top of your list. Again, subscribe, turn on those notifications so that you make sure that you get turn on alerts so that you make sure you get notifications when we do go live or when any episodes are released. So yeah. And then make sure also to hit us up on our Dead Arm Sports social pages. That's at Dead Arm Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Also available on Facebook just by searching Dead Arm Sports. Write us in, hit us up in the DMs with a comment, with a question for a future topic. You can also hit us up in the DMs after you subscribe, rate, and review. With that written review, hit us up on Twitter in the DMs, hit us up on IG on the DMs. That's direct messages. It's all those kids that call them the DMs. Those darn kids, get off my lawn.
Love it. All right. Appreciate everybody out there listening and watching today. Again, appreciate everybody out there. If you could tell somebody you know about our podcast, help spread the word, be much appreciated by Gel and I. Otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow. Have a fun show for you. Going to talk about the Aaron Donald contract and also talk a little Vegas win totals. So any of you looking to spread a little preseason cash on a couple over under bets, we got you covered tomorrow. Ones that we're a little interested in and maybe highly passionate that they're going to be over or under. So Jill and I'll maybe debate some of them. We'll see. We don't know who each other are going to be taking. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. Should be a fun show. Otherwise, Jill, close us out.
Papa Molly, I'm sweating.